What is up, everybody? It is Robbie for the third day in a row. I just wanted to film a quick video about intercoolers, and more specifically the differences between a brand new front mount intercooler as opposed to an upgraded top mount intercooler that comes stock on these cars. So this video is going to be geared towards people who have a stock mount intercooler or a stock top mount intercooler. Those people are going to be people with speed 3s like myself, speed 6s, WRXs, STIs. Off the top of my head, those are the cars that I can remember with stock top mounts. But anyway, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of each. I'm going to try and give 3 of both, just to kind of make it even between the two. We're going to start with a upgraded top mount intercooler, what the pros and cons of that would be, and any other comments that I may have. So let's get it started with an upgraded top mount. So the first pro I'm going to list is it is super easy to install. If you get a new top mount intercooler like a CPE or anybody else who makes one, it's literally going to go exactly where the stock one went. So on a speed 3, it usually sits, right on top of the engine bay, right there. It connects once here and once onto the throttle body. So it literally bolts directly in place. So direct bolt on. You won't need to fit it in place. You won't need to drill. You literally just pop it right on top. Pro number 2, no lag. As opposed to the front mount intercooler, which has a lot of piping, so the air will have to travel a very long way before it actually gets into the throttle body and cools off the engine. A top mount intercooler will only have to flow about a foot. So you go from there to there. Really simple. You shouldn't have any lag at all. Pro number 3, lower temps. So this is kind of going to be a given, but it is going to be bigger. It's usually going to be thicker. It's going to contain more gills to trap in air. So obviously it's going to cool off your engine better than the stock top mount. So let's move on to the cons. Cons number 1 of an upgraded top mount. It's still going to be on top of the engine block, which isn't good. It's going to sit right on top of where heat comes from, which is obviously, with an upgraded one, it's not going to heat soak as much, but you are still going to have a bunch of heat coming off the engine and heating up your intercooler. So that's not very good. Con number 2. Theoretically, you only have fresh air coming from one spot, and that is for the entirety of the engine bay, and that is through your hood scoop. So you really only have air coming through a little teeny slit on the top of your hood to cool off everything. So it's really, really restricted on where fresh air comes from, unless you're willing to hack up everything, or hack up your bumper or your hood. Con number 3. Just like the stock top mount intercooler, you're going to have problems getting to certain things in your engine bay because that top mount intercooler is so large and takes up so much space, especially on a speed 3. WRXs and STIs usually have it pushed to the back where it's not going to hurt anything, but on a speed 3 you have it sitting right over the top. So that means every time you want to change your spark plugs, boom, you're going to have to take off the intercooler. Every time you want to mess with your throttle body, boom, you got to take off the intercooler. Every time you want to mess with like your fuel pump, boom, you're going to have to take it off. It's just something you can't avoid with a top mount intercooler, whether it's upgraded or not. You're going to have to take it off to get to some of these parts. Okay, so that is the 3 pros and 3 cons of an upgraded top mount. I'm going to move to why you might want to upgrade to a front mount intercooler. So let's kick it off with the first pro, and that is, well, it's kind of debatable, but cooler temperatures. And why might that be? Well, that is because there's not as much, well, it's because it's not sitting over the engine block. Well, you have this one piece that does, but for the most part, you're getting fresh air directly from the front. And they're, you know, it's a bigger size, so you're getting more air, cooler air coming in from the front. Pro number 2. And this is kind of biased, but it looks cool. And usually when people see it, it's like, ah, damn, it's upgraded. You know, they see it and they kind of think highly of you, because most JDM cars usually have a front mount intercooler showing, and it's kind of cool. Pro number 3. It's better than the stock top mount. And this is kind of the same for both, but it's way better than the stock top mount. CX Racing, the people who I got this from, did a baseline dyno and gained 20 horsepower and 25 wheel torque just from the front mount intercooler alone with no tune, which is great. And they saw a decrease in temps by about like 33% or something like that. Temps just dropped. I'm going to do a quick 4th pro for this, because the second one was kind of, it looked good. That's not really a good thing. But anyway, one good thing about a front mount intercooler system is that once you reach the limits of this intercooler core, you can just buy a bigger one. Whereas if you had a top mount intercooler, you'd have to replace the unit altogether. But if you need more cooling, you can just get a bigger core and slap it right on there. Alright, so let's go into the cons of a front mount intercooler. So con number 1, and I've touched on this before, it is lag. Now, as opposed to the top mount intercooler, where air only really has to flow from here to here, or vice versa, air now has to flow all the way down, back down to the intercooler core, back up and around, and boom. So it's a lot of piping. The air has to travel a very long way. Luckily, the stock turbo on these cars spools up super duper quickly, so most of the time you don't have to worry about lag. But I can only assume that if you had a bigger turbo, you would have more lag due to the air having to travel a longer distance than a stock top mount. Alright, con number 2. Now, because the intercooler core is in the front there, you are very susceptible to damaging it. And what I mean by that is by anything, rocks or bugs or loose debris are going to fly in and hit it, and they're going to bend the fins, damaging it. Now, you can put a little mesh over it to kind of protect it, but it's still a con. Things are going to get in there, things are going to damage it, you're going to have to go in and fix it, and probably at some point you're going to have to replace the core. So that is a definite con. Number 3, and that is having to install this thing. So as opposed to the top mount intercooler, which bolts right back up, you are going to have to run this piping and connect it all. And if you're not very good at installing things like I am, chances are you're going to have a bit of a problem. It's a very tight fit. They make it snug for a reason, but you know, I had problems. You know, I had a lot of problems with connections, a lot of leaks. I had hoses pop off during the first week that I had to go adjust. I had boost leaks, vacuum leaks that I had to go in and fix. And it wasn't because there was anything wrong with the kit per se. It was just because it's really hard to install. You really don't have that much room for error when you're putting this thing together. And you have to be very careful because, you know, if you do have a leak, you have to take the entire front end off the car to fix it. And that's a real pain in the ass. So if you are going to do a front mount intercooler, I would say, you know, make sure you do it right once, because you're not going to want to do it again. Trust me. Okay, so now that you have heard the pros and the cons of each, I just kind of wanted to give, like, you know, if I had to do it again, would I pick a top mount intercooler? And the answer for me is no. And the reason that is because it's too hot here in the summer, and it just bakes inside of that engine bay with this black car. It just doesn't make sense. The front mount core is out of the way of the engine block. It doesn't heat up as quickly. Boost temperatures are way lower. It's just, I don't know. the top mount just got heat soaked too easily. It looked kind of gross. It blocked a lot of the things for me, and it made me not want to upgrade it. It made me just want to get rid of it altogether. But I do see the value in putting a new top mount intercooler on there. It's way easier. It's probably the best bang for your buck. You don't have to run this piping. It's super, super sleeper, because nobody would know you had an upgraded top mount. Whereas, you know, on these cars, the WRXs or STIs, once you see those little gills, you know that they're packing some heat, you know. But yeah, I would, if I had to do it over again, I'd probably pick the front mount intercooler, except I would make sure everything is connected correctly the first time. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much the video. Let me know if y'all like it. Comment if you have your own thoughts, or if you think I'm wrong or anything like that. I appreciate the feedback. Anyway, that's it. Y'all have a good afternoon. Peace.